I want to talk about Venezuela. There's so much to get into. There are so many aspects of this story. Was Trump right? What does it mean for the future of Venezuela? What does it mean for the future of America first? So much to get into. So I want to bring in someone who really knows what they're talking about. Francis Foster is the co-host of the wildly successful and excellent podcast Triggernometry. He's also spent a fair bit of his life living in Venezuela, so I'm really keen to get his insights on all of this. He joins me now. Francis, thank you so much for taking the time. I just want to first off ask, what were your initial reactions when you hear the news that Maduro is gone?
Well, to be honest with you, it's one of incredible disbelief. And the reason is you've got to look at it like this. Hugo Chavez came to power in 1999 in a democratic election, which he won fair and square and by a landslide with a leftist populist message, which was the old elites are corrupt, which they were. You can't trust the politicians, which you couldn't. I'm the future. I'm going to redistribute wealth. And to a huge swathe of the population that were trapped in poverty, despite the fact that Venezuela should be one of the richest nations on earth, that was an incredibly appealing message. Fast forward to 2013, where the country had been driven into poverty, widespread corruption meant that the vast majority of the money from the petroleum got funneled into the pockets of Chavez and his cronies. And bear in mind that the Venezuelan economy was at that point 97% dependent on petroleum. So the reality is the rest of the economy was minimal in comparison. The vast majority of that money was going to Chavez and his cronies, and the people were left to starve. At that point, Chavez was dying of stomach cancer in 2013, and he appointed his successor, Nicolas Maduro, who you can see on the screen. Now, that was very surprising for Venezuelans at the time, because Nicolas Maduro wasn't the most talented of politicians. He wasn't the smartest, he wasn't the sharpest, he wasn't the most politically astute. But what Nicolas Maduro was at the time was he was a loyalist. He could be trusted to enact Chavez's instructions to the letter. And Maduro came to power in 2013. And at that point, there was a slight wave of optimism in Venezuela because they were thinking to themselves, things couldn't get worse. But unfortunately, they did. And as Maduro went on in his reign, so things got progressively worse and worse and worse for Venezuelan people. Now, some of you might be aware that it wasn't just Maduro that was taken by the US government, it was his wife. And his wife is a very interesting figure because his wife is the lady who many people in Venezuela credit with being the brains behind the operation. The Telegraph called her the Lady Macbeth of Venezuela. His wife was a politician before she married Nicolas Maduro. And you can see them online on Venezuelan TikTok. There are clips of Nicolas Maduro trying to do very, very, very basic mental mathematics in his speeches or in his direct addresses to the Venezuelan people and getting it wrong. Maduro has never been known for his intelligence, his competence, or his political ability. He was known as somebody who was a loyalist. And many people credit his wife as the real brains behind the operation. And in Venezuela, she is known as being even more extreme, even more authoritarian, and even more cruel than her husband. So I was talking to a friend of mine and he was saying, Francis, I never thought this day could happen, that Nicolas Maduro would be facing justice. But to Venezuelan people, it's almost, if not more sweet, that she is facing justice with him.
Yeah, you mentioned he's not a natural politician, and yet he can't do simple mathematics, breaks a lot of promises, and has people around him to tell him what to do. He sounds like a natural one to me. But where do we go? Where are we now? So Maduro's gone, Lady Macbeth is gone. Who is likely to be in charge? I know it's so hard to say when there's so many updates coming, but who's likely to be in charge, say, 6 months from now and then maybe 2 years from now?
Well, the simple answer, James, is that we simply don't know. Those are questions which cannot be answered. All we can deal with are the facts that we know as of this moment, which is Delcy Rodriguez is currently in power. She is liaising with Trump. Trump is effectively calling the shots. Venezuela has now become a de facto colony of the United States of America. That is what is happening.